And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael DeLon. Today I am talking with Barb Davids. Barb, thank you for taking some time to be with me today.
Thanks for having me. I am looking forward to the conversation.
Well, you're welcome. It's going to be really fun. Barb started, founded, and continues to run Compass Digital Strategies, where she really helps small business owners to go from, as she says, go from stuck to unstoppable. And we're going to dive deep into SEO and content marketing and why it's important and how do you get it done right. That's what I want to have a chat about, Barb. So as we dive into the deep end here, tell me, how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
It started with getting it done right. So I used to work in corporate and I would hire out people like me and they weren't very transparent. And I was like, can you just give me the answers? I want to know what's happening. And it was difficult. And along those lines, I decided I wanted to start working for myself, help other people, be able to travel around and work anytime, anywhere. And I started working mostly with photographers in the beginning, and then it kind of expanded out to other small business owners because it did seem like people were having trouble trying to figure out like what in the world to do. Every time they'd go into Google, it would be very confusing and not knowing what worked for them. So fast forward a few years and I'm helping people figure things out.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's talk about SEO and content marketing, because those are terms that, I mean, they get thrown around anywhere. And it's I do a lot of work with attorneys and financial advisors, and they have their own lingo inside their world. And I listen to them, I go, but I don't understand what you're saying because I'm not an attorney. And so I have to make them dumb it down a little bit to get to the Michael level. And so SEO and content marketing, I think, really are those types of terms. If you're a marketer, you kind of get it. But if you're not a marketer, which a lot of business owners aren't, right? They're experts at what they do. But when it comes to this marketing thing, they're kind of scratching their heads, and it's kind of a gray area. So unpack for us, put it at the Michael level, SEO and content marketing, kind of what are they? And then let's talk about how to do it right.
Stands for search engine optimization. And basically, it's kind of like if you think that your website isn't working for you, let's say you're like, oh, I wish I could have some more traffic on here so I could get some more leads, or I want them to download my PDF or something like that. That's where that comes in because you make your website optimize for search if somebody's going to Google, and you use that with content marketing. So you create things on your website to basically let Google love you and then try to rank you on first page. And so it's considered organic traffic as opposed to paid traffic. So you're not paying for this traffic. And when you are setting up your SEO and your content marketing and the strategy behind it, you're setting it up so that you don't have to keep doing it all the time. Like you set it up in a way that you continually do content, but that it builds on itself. So that way you don't have to, like, if you do paid ads, if you turn them off, you don't get the leads. If you put a blog post out there, it's possible you could still get leads 5 years from now from that one thing that you did.
Right. Yeah. And it's all, that's one of the reasons I love podcasting, because once you do it, this episode is going to be there for a very long time.
Mhm.
It's going to be on my website, right? That's going to be one piece of content that's on my website, along with videos and articles and blogs and all kinds of other things that, yeah, they're out there so that when somebody is searching for book publishing or credibility marketing or something, one of these things is going to pop up. And then they're going to go, wow, I wonder what else he has. And then they might take that next step. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
That's exactly right.
Okay. So what is it that causes business owners to have so much angst around this? And okay, how am I going to say this? It seems like there's a dichotomy, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's just in my head, of content marketing and organic, as you called it, versus paid. And we hear a lot more. I hear a lot more of paid than I do organic content marketing. And am I mishearing things, or is that kind of true?
Well, I think it's easier to hear about the paid because it's kind of immediate compared to organic content marketing.
Got it.
So organic content marketing can take a while. Sometimes there's some quick wins, something will happen and you'll get traffic in the same month. But generally speaking, it does take some time because when you put something out there, Google has to learn about it. And then it has to rank you with, like, it has to think, do I want to put this one up there? Do I not? There's so many things that Google says that it's kind of like a ranking system or a popularity contest in a way. Okay,
Hmm.
how does this one work? And do they have like credible factors on the website? Do I know what they're talking about? Will it answer the question that somebody's typing into Google? And then the paid, it's a nice kind of interim if you're just starting out. Sometimes I recommend it because, but then if you're not getting a return, you just check and make sure you're getting a return on the money that you're spending, and then you can choose not to do it later. It varies from person to person based off of their what they're doing as well, or what they're selling. But the organic one has such a longevity to it, and it is, I mean, you're still paying sometimes if you're paying for a consultant or a copywriter or an
Hmm.
editor or something like that, but it stays out there so much longer. Um, I think that's the appeal of it. It's return is just a better value overall.
Right. Yeah. One of my marketing philosophies that I teach my clients is consistency over time.
Hmm.
And I think that plays in really well with SEO and content marketing is you need to have a strategy. You need to know kind of
Hmm.
what you're trying to go after, but you need to be consistent. And whether that's, one time a week or three times a day or whatever fits your schedule. How do you work with business owners as far as consistency? Is there a magic number, or is it more important just to be there over and over and over again? Or what have you found?
So that's probably the most question outside of how much does it cost,
Mm-hmm.
is how many times do I have to blog post, and how long should the blogs be? Because essentially that's what it is blog writing, right? That's about the content that it is. It could be other things, but on your website, that's the gist of it. There is no hard fast rule. I will say though, if whatever's whatever works for you over time, usually I say once a month. That's the very bare minimum that
Mm-hmm.
I've found that works to where you can get some trajectory upward. However, let's say you could do one a week, you can get to where you're going a little bit faster. So it's a little bit more of an aggressive strategy than just doing once a month. Now, there are some, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of tools and things like that. But if somebody says, well, let's do 6 a day, let's say you hire somebody and they can actually do that, or you can do that. That's not realistic, because in a normal human world, we've got things going on and it takes a little while to write blog posts. So if you're doing 6 a day, even 6 a week, that's quite a lot, except for news people. That's the exception to the rule. Google's going to be like, this doesn't seem like true content. It looks like you're just
Mm-hmm.
doing it to do it. So that's one thing I would keep in mind. And then the biggest question is, how long does it have to be? There is no set number. However, I do guide people to say like 1,200 words or minimum 800. 1,200
Mm-hmm.
is better, but if you get any less than 800, it does start feeling a little bit superficial. Like it's not like meaty enough for whatever's happening. However, like everything, there's an exception. It depends on the question, it depends on the answer. But generally, I say minimum 800, but I like 1,200.
Mm-hmm. And that's good. And I think somebody could discipline themselves, a business owner, that you could carve out an hour a week, and you could easily write one or two posts of that length that would actually have enough content in them that you could, in a sense, answer the whatever questions out there, FAQs. And there are places that you could go online to find out what are people asking about photography, wedding photography, or what are the questions people have, and you can answer those and have an answer that's prolific enough to be set to satisfy Google, but also
Mhm.
to satisfy that prospect or that person searching. And then hopefully they're going to bookmark it, or they're going to come back and they're going to look for more. And what happens if I get this right, you become a trusted expert in their mind. So they start coming to you for other things. They follow you or whatever. Is that kind of the way it works?
Yeah, ideally, you would want to interact with them in some way that they would connect with you, whether that be a download, a cheat sheet, maybe it's signing up for a newsletter, following on social. So that way you can have that conversation with them,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of they can get to know you. Because a lot of the times, most small businesses, service-based, especially, maybe not product, right? They it takes a little while before they want to start working with you. And by downloading something and showing them and helping them with something they're doing, you're building that trust.
Right.
So I don't recommend doing a contact form right away. I think that's not necessarily really what they're ready for, but in some way help them with that question, but lead them to the next step, whatever that be. Maybe it's another blog post. It doesn't even
Mhm.
have to be a download, but the lead magnets from a business perspective is what they're called. Those are a lot, those are a really great way to get connected, because then if they download, let's say a checklist or a cheat sheet or like something, then you put them on your newsletter list, and then they can get to know you better.
Right. And yeah, and that's the key right there is people, I mean, they do, we've heard it for years and it's almost, I get tired of it. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunately it's true.
Yeah.
But the question is, how do you accomplish that? And
Yeah.
it's a two-way street. And I think really at the beginning, we as business owners, we need to be giving a lot more than we're asking for at the beginning to build that trust, and then onboard them, take them to another thing, take them to another thing, and hopefully through blogs or down or lead magnets that you said, or social media, find that way to communicate back and forth and say, what are you looking for? How can I may have what you're looking for, or I may not, but I've got a network of people. I'm happy to connect you, and you just, I guess that's the organic nature of it, right?
Exactly. Yep, they're coming to you without you having to pay for it. So, and then one of the things is being able to distribute it. So having that distribution strategy, you publish your blog post, you do all the things to it that you need to make sure it's very engaging, and that like when somebody comes there, it's visually appealing so they don't jump off right away. But then also that distribution strategy really helps. So whether that, no matter what channel you choose to be on, that you regularly put it out there, say, hey, I've got this blog post, or maybe take snippets of it and put it in different formats, like a quote card. So you put a quote or a piece of the blog post on a image, and put that on your Instagram or your TikTok or whatever platform you're on. And then sometimes it could be like another image with something that would be supportive. So sometimes like maybe charts or just any visual that kind of like resonates the visual to the words.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the cool things, and I'm not sure how it all works, but if you have a blog post, but I've seen a lot of blog posts that have a link inside of them to a different blog post or a
Hmm.
video or a something to, again, add more value to that reader, that engaged person. But also, I assume Google likes it when people are there and they're going to different places because you're a trusted resource. Fair?
Correct. So there's a thing called dwell time. And so that's something that it's kind of argumentative of whether or not they actually use it. But basically, if somebody types in a keyword into Google and you can satisfy that search, whatever it is that you offer, and they come to your website, if they don't jump right off back to the search results, that's a good thing. So the longer you can keep them on your website, number one, you're helping them. That's the first and foremost. But two, Google can see that they didn't come back. So you probably helped answer their question, which tells Google that that page was a good
Mm,
page.
it's crazy. It's crazy
Hmm.
what Google knows about us.
I know.
What about types of content? Video? Could you put video on a blog along with writing, or is that a no-no? Do you see people doing more video on blogs? Not on like TikTok and YouTube; those are obvious, but like on
Yeah.
blog posts and things to go deeper or something like that.
Yeah. As long as it's not just there to be there. I
Right.
think that's the big
Yes.
piece of it. So, and you have to test it, because I actually did now, generally speaking, when you it's good practice to put a YouTube embed in there versus just putting a video upload. But then there's
Mm-hmm.
also like the logistics of it too, like how much does your hosting have? Like there's a technical side of it too. So there's different ways
Yeah.
you can put video in there. But I even had a client once who had a YouTube video on their blog post. They took it off and then they ranked. So it's just an odd thing. So you definitely have to
Hmm.
try different things out, let it sit out there for a while and see what happens. But generally speaking, yes, they are good to go. And they're just helpful too, because if somebody lands on there, and maybe even though it's a reading nature, sometimes it's, if you can tell somebody visually or through a video, it might connect better, or maybe it's just
Right.
easier to display the content that way.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about your clients or your prospects. Who, when we're talking right now and people are listening, what are some of the primary challenges, I guess, that they are having right now that would cause them to be a good prospect to reach out to you? So, what's going on in their world? Are they too busy? Are they not getting it done? What Talk about some of the angst that your prospects and clients are facing before they actually reach out to you.
Well, they just don't get enough leads on their website. So they expect that they would have more people reaching out through their contact form on their website than they actually do.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the time, they don't even have the analytics set up to be able to measure any kind of performance. Like maybe it's because there's a broken link or something and they're not coming through the contact form. That's happened before. Or maybe it's plain not in Google. That's the other thing too. One of the big ones is somebody will have a redesign or a rebrand. Long story short, something gets turned off in the process, and then Google can't see the website. And they don't know that because they don't know those background details. But a lot of the time, it's just that they just are frustrated with the marketing. They probably tried ads and they didn't work, maybe Facebook ads. They've tried just with other companies and they didn't get the results that they wanted or that they expected. And I think a lot of it is the expectation and I'm very much around transparency and being able to lay things out. And I think just setting that expectation of what's happening and being real about the resources they have, that makes a real huge difference. Because there's agencies out there that will pretend that they're doing stuff in the background, or they'll say that they're doing something to your website, but again, without getting too deep in the weeds, when you quit them, all that stuff kind of goes away. And that's the unfortunate thing. So I think it's the unknowing, and they're just frustrated with not knowing. And so they just need answers about what to do, and
Mhm.
they need a strategy going forward.
Yeah, that's good. So then now let's pivot to say, okay, now they're getting ready to reach out to Barb. Talk about your engagements with them. Is it a short term? Do you have 3 month programs? Is it a year? Is it a 5 year? Is it a 1 day? What should somebody expect as they come working with you? Or does it depend on the person and where they are?
It really depends, yeah, and I hate saying that. It varies based off of the business and where they're at and what kind of help they need. Some
Mhm.
people come in for just 3 months and they get some things set up and then they go along their merry way. Some of them start for 3 months and then move into a sort of done for you program because they realize they just don't want to do
Yes,
it.
amen.
That's probably the most common.
Yeah, because it can be a hassle, honestly,
Yeah,
because it's one more thing, and if it's outside of your zone of genius,
yeah,
then honestly, I tell people, then you shouldn't be doing it.
yeah,
As
yeah.
a
I'm like a
business, you should be
bookkeeper.
doing it. What's that?
Yeah. I'm like a bookkeeper. Like I'm the person of the thing they don't want to do.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's why you reach out to Barb, and I assume you meet with them, you kind of lay out a strategy, at least for 90 days, but sometimes longer, and say, here's what we're going to do. And then you said you had a done for you program, so you got a way to get all the content created for them that would actually sound like them and their business, which is really important. Or
Yeah.
you also kind of train them so that if they have a small team, they could work with you for 3 months, 6 months or something, and you kind of equip them at some level to say, this is the plan going forward. It's still part of a strategy that Barb helps you
Mhm.
put together. But am I in the ballpark?
Yeah, absolutely. Can do it that way too. I think the important thing to remember is that I'm not teaching it. Like I'm setting it up so that it's for your business specifically because
Mm,
everybody has their own workflows, their own teams, their own preferences. And while there is a foundational framework, it's not like it's held to it 100%.
right.
And depending on how aggressive they want to be. So some people don't want to spend that much time on it. So they'll start off slow and then they'll
Mm,
see something and then they'll take off, or they'll start off really fast and then kind of wane it down a little bit. Um, it's really a lot of it is business owner preference, I feel like nowadays.
yeah, yeah, that's really good. And
Hmm.
I was just going back up to what we talked about earlier, SEO and content marketing, and the two really tie together. And I'm not sure, as I talk with business owners, if they really get that. They see them as two separate things, which at one level they are separate, but they really do tie together. And as I've heard what you're saying is they tie together, and the center of that is really the website where the blog would live, and from there you can repost or repurpose some of that blog to other platforms, driving people back to your website. Where it, is that it? Kind of.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. So it's kind of funny because like when I started years ago, I was thinking about, well, I did digital marketing in general, like all of it for when I was working in corporate. And then I came into my own business and I focused on SEO and content marketing, but more so on the SEO side because it was just fascinating to me how you could do these things and then eventually you would see some changes, but it was interesting because it was kind of art, kind of science. And there were so many people that didn't like it. I felt very useful. So I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then I got started into it more and I was like, I know I needed blogs, but I wasn't really understanding how connected those are, because SEO or organic search as it stands today, I always laugh. I have to stand around with a disclaimer, like a splat across my head, because things change so much. But the words on the page, not only does Google use that and do tools use that when they scrape your website, they come through your website, they're like, what does this person do? But when they land on your page, which is more importantly, does it resonate with the person that visits? Because ultimately what your SEO and your content marketing is doing is trying to get you leads. It's not about getting more traffic. It is, but it's getting more qualified traffic. So yeah.
That's good. And that's where it really bubbles up when somebody's searching Google. If they're searching for a term and you have an article that meets that term, that's a more qualified lead than somebody who's, sometimes you might be paying for something and get a very unqualified lead because you paid for something. Versus if somebody is searching for a particular thing that you can solve, they obviously have an interest because, the last time I searched for flip-flops, I just don't, right? Because I'm not interested. But if I need one,
Yeah.
then if I search for flip-flops, well, guess what? I'm interested now. So I think that's one simple way in my Michael brain to understand the importance of organic, the importance of content marketing and matching with highly interested prospects.
Hmm.
That makes sense at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. How does somebody who's sitting out there going, wow, I didn't know somebody like you existed and I really don't like this. I don't like spending the time doing this because I don't really get it. I don't know what to do. How would they reach out and start a conversation with you, find out more about you, understand the process, and have a conversation to start moving in that direction with you? Where would they go?
Super simple. Just go to compassdigitalstrategies.com.
Okay. Did y'all hear that? compassdigitalstrategies.com. Did you see how clear she was in that? I talk to people all the time about clear, concise messaging and websites, and that's it. Thank you for that because you won't believe, well, you probably would. I ask people that question all the time. And I've gotten everything from phone numbers to email addresses to 4 different salespeople. It's like, no, 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 no. compassdigitalstrategies.com.
That's
Go
right.
there and you'll find out all you need to know about Barb, about her programs, how you can get in touch with her and understand more how you can really capitalize on SEO, content marketing. She's got ways to look at your website to see, can Google even see your website? That might be a big on-off button there. But there's so much to this, and I love that it's a consistency over time strategy because that's what I preach all the time. And it's a way to take it off of your plate as a business owner. You're still in charge of it, and Barb's working with and for you, but it's a way to really understand how to grow your business and going from, as she says, going from stuck to unstoppable because you have a story to tell, you have a service to give, and Barb's there to help you kind of connect the dots in a really cool way that's long lasting. Okay, so Barb, we're going to send people to compassdigitalstrategies.com. That's where they're going to find Barb. Thanks for what you do, for taking that burden off business owners, and educating them and just helping them understand this whole world that not a lot of people talk about. So Barb, thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for being my guest today.
Thank you so much for having me on. And if anybody really liked the episode, make sure to give this one a thumbs up or like it. I think you have some fantastic guests on here. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, Barb. Thanks for listening to Expert Speak. Tune in again next week for another great guest. Take care and God bless.